was just going to look at the ephemeris before I conk out tonight. It's a big day for Mercury. Mercury moves into Gemini and starts to be able to talk. And it's kind of, to me, it's speaking to the future. I've been having strange experiences of the thread of time. The threads. Anyway, so the Mercury, this entrance of it includes, there's an intense aspect with Saturn, the Mercury square Saturn. Just right off the top of my head, it's a little bit tough on communications. Mercury square Saturn. Not easy learning there, that as far as if somebody has that inside of their chart, I would suspect that they probably do a lot of studying, but their retention is low, and it's just not the way to go about it as far as what has been traditionally bringing up mentalities. And so that could be just a lifetime. Depends on the progressions, but here we are in June. I'm talking about the aspect that these things that are happening with the planets that speaks to the future. It's because communications is huge. And see, we have this issue with the Mercury going to be squaring Saturn coming up here on Friday. It's the benefit of it is that Mercury in Gemini, it's at home there, and the Saturn in Pisces, to me, this is where we have shored up our subconscious minds. A lot of people have been feeling that can of worms open up and having to deal with abuse of the extreme kind, really, which comes into my mind because people with Saturn and Pisces have that story and sensitivity within their makeup, and let alone that how the new moon is in elemental square with that. The sun's doing this. This is all going to be boy, I just got the visual of, as far as how that communications is a push that can open up, and but first it's kind of, there's pressure. That's where Pluto would come in, to set off like one more time here. We're going into Capricorn, that where it's bringing us into the past, lessons of the last, like say now it's at least 15 years or 14 that Pluto has been in Capricorn. And the less consciously aware people, which is most people, I mean, we are becoming more and more awake, and depends on where you are, how you say that now that they're, like I'm experiencing something about time that is like, really, and thank God for astrology that kind of makes that possible. I have no doubt that that's all part of it. It's like, yeah, there's something going on keep listening to these weirdos talking. I mean, Terrence McKenna. Anyway, but getting back to talk about talking. We need to clear it up. We need to clear a lot of things up. That's what Pluto is going to be doing. Taking a step away from Aquarius. I mean, don't worry. It's like a look back into the matrix of man, the laws of man, that um, strange world out there, you guys. What are we gonna do? Can't do much about it. You can just kind of remain buoyant with things, boy. I stay in a state of prayer a lot, whatever that means to you. Really, I'm very grateful. That's what it would mainly mean for me. If you can achieve that, like solid throughout your waking um, days, then boy, I got off the subject matter, but because that's a whole opening up like a whole other dimension, um, away from astrology, even for sure. You want to elevate. It's really interesting to see, well, how is everybody else going to be dealing with all of this? And that's all you could do as an astrologer. Like, what is the use? Because you already know, you can just throw it out because you know all the seasons and everything, and it's just like, it's just looking into the mind of God, and how it's like, it's going to keep telling you, well, there's a process that you're going through. It's very natural. But, like I'm talking about, those that have been programmed poorly through abuse, okay, so their gears tend to grind more, less smoothly during the times of when we have to transform and move into transition. Every single body has a lesson with letting go of the old and renewing. And that's always like the basic of what we talk about. I mean, what's the use of it? But it's like, God, that is such a useful thing because you don't want to become non-alive. You want to remain alive, and that is to. But God saying that is like, well, goodness gracious, take care of yourself. Everybody has their own frequency that they're on. Like, are you busting out? Are you allowing yourself to get away from people who are shut down? Basically, they are sealed in their darkness of mind. Getting back to the mind, maybe, like, who talks about this freely like that? Will you be quiet? It's hard to. I'm looking at advertisements here. They're trying to sell me things. I don't want any of that. Anyway, here we are. Venus and Leo, exciting. But see, on the 16th we have that Mercury square Saturn. I think it's beneficial. People will begin to hear more material, maybe, or talking more about what needs to be talked about, whatever it needs to happen. Mercury, I imagine, in Gemini, is just going to banter from all seven angles possible, um, to create the um, air of healing, really, because Gemini is a very healing sign. That's its intention. Like, it's the third sign of the zodiac, which is of the 369. The third is now two people are meeting. And I'm just understanding, like, what scientifically this means, because we as human beings are a scientific apparatus, and I keep getting flashes of it, like, and it's like, well, I won't be able to talk about that until about 3 months from now, and give it some time, because here we go with well, talk about Pluto, making one more dip into the archaic darkness of Capricorn. Excuse me, Capricorn, I love you, and I really do. I truly do. Really, there isn't anybody that can love you more than Venus and Virgo here. But we need to breathe some fresh air of just do it, and let go into like, well, forget those rules and let's break the laws there, and because that's Aquarius. Aquarius says, would you loosen up? Woo! Breaks free. That's really the story about Aquarius is very independent and individual oriented. It's not always just going to be a necktie on, you know what I mean? Um, Evolution of human consciousness coming up, and it's right in front of our face. I mean, right there with astrology, it's like you can see the future too. It's like, talk about a living. I remember when I looked up the ephemeris. I have, an ephemeris in a book, pages, of 100 years. I guess it was from 1990, 1900 to year 2000, and I remember just flipping through the planetary ephemeris and noticing it's a real live living book. It's like the only living book that you can go in and see the life of however far you can start seeing the huge cog of the solar system. Anyway, God, thank you for listening to this. It's going to be a little bit rough with the Pluto squaring my Mercury. It's just a flash into the darkness here. I'll apologize beforehand. Okay, so the new moon coming up is involved with a square to Neptune, which is also speaking towards, like, we have to keep working on this. It keeps coming up with the nature of the mind. Really, we have to keep looking at it. Boy, and there's great information there, and I'm looking into it too. It's like, the difficulty that you'll have in your human relationships is really not of the heart matters. I mean, there's things turned upside down and backwards because we don't see what's really the culprit, the causing culprit, and it's the mind. You know, don't ever tell a mind that. God, how many minds are against me right now? Excuse me, who's that? Oh, it's the Catholic Church over there. They're like, will you mind? It's like, oh, depends on what you mean. Is it the mind of God? Don't talk about that. That's some material I've come up with. It's just so strange. At a certain time, my whole computer just says no to that, and I get banned. And it's like, wait a minute, what happened? What just happened there? Uh, they got us all quarantined off. It's just interesting. Like, well, what the fuck is going on here? Have you ever asked yourself that, kids? Comment section down below. You're talking to your